Absolutely. That is. So I'm excited that you guys are here and that it's summer. And I'm excited that we're going to have this conversation around time and business in summer. Who is already feeling the tug between what needs to get done to build momentum in your business and what your heart really wants to do to enjoy like the moments in the margin in this season, right? Anybody say yes? Put tug in the chat if you're feeling that tug, right? And this is not just a summertime thing. And what we're going to be talking about today is not just something that's exclusive to this season, but I think this is a season when we tend to feel that pull a little bit more. There's this like desire to slow down and just to like put our feet up and, enjoy so many people and things and experiences. And our calling and our business doesn't go on vacation, right? And so while you may take some time away, you're probably not just, tucking it away for the next 3 months. And so you want to see some growth as we go. So the reason I invited you guys, this is an invitation only thing, right, that I put out there is because I know that you have this God-given calling and commitment to what you do, both in your life with your family and the roles that you play, as well as in your business. And you only get 24 hours in a day, just like the rest of us, right? And so we want to see, like, how do we wisely steward this time and how do we get more results from it? But let's be honest, it's really easy to feel like there's not enough time when you get sucked down, scroll hole over here, right? Or you sit down to work on something and it takes longer than you expect. Or like my morning this morning, I ended up spending 4 hours at the urgent care and then getting some medication and things like that for my daughter. And so, it just felt like time can feel like time gets away from us when everyone and everything wants our time, right? And summer is calling. And so we want to be present to all of that. And so today, I want to help you identify where your time might be distracted, scattered, or reactive. And I want you to leave with a plan of how to multiply the return on your time and not feel like you're always doing or should be doing more. Does anyone else feel that? Like either like you're always in doing mode, I'm not alone, I'm seeing lots of heads nodding, or like even when you're not doing, your head is still kind of rolling things, right? And you're still doing in your head or thinking about what balls you dropped or what you should have done, and things like that. So I want to start off by getting to know you guys. I mean, I have gotten to connect with each one of you who's here today in some respect. But I would love for you to be able to share just like who you are. Tell us about your business that you have and tell us something that maybe is just an element of this season, right? So something that's going on again, whether it's something that's a specific event or whether it's just kind of something that you're wanting to make time for. How about this? What are you wanting to make time for this summer? Let's do it that way. Okay, so tell us about you, your business, and what are you wanting to make time for? So Toby, we're going to start with you because you're at the top of my Brady Bunch. So go ahead and unmute and yeah, just quick introduce yourself.
Okay, thanks. Well, Lisa, thanks for inviting me. Um, I am a dietitian and I help people to become more intuitive about eating so that they can come away from the rules of dieting that pull them away from their bodies and instead reconnect. How does my food make me feel? And how can I adjust my plate so that I feel full and satisfied? And so I don't feel restricted or deprived on my weight loss journey. So, eating is a lifestyle is my business name. So
And something you're wanting to make time for this summer.
I'm like, am I ready for the third question? Okay,
Yes.
so I'll just say that I've been super distracted for the last week, maybe week and a half, by this like family history stuff that my husband's dug up with photos and diaries and like books and stuff. And so I've been just totally distracted and it's taking a lot of my time. So this summer, I actually like want to have time to do stuff like that.
Yeah, I love it. So fun. Cecily, why don't you go next? And then Elise, you'll be up next.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Cecily LaChapelle, and I am a new author. The book is Repurpose Your Pain. And I'm a brand new podcaster, like just spanked the baby on the podcast. So we have just one season pretty much under my belt. And everything in my life since I stepped out of my corporate job 2.5 years ago to just give the Lord my whole life, all of my time, and wrote the book, started the podcast, started speaking more in earnest, trying to figure out how I get myself out there as a speaker. My life has been the Mount Everest climb of all the things I didn't know how to do, and training and tutorial and courses and spending money I probably didn't need to spend, buying platform software trainings I probably didn't even need because I just didn't know. So it's been the amount of overwhelm. So this summer, what I really want to do is to have time to breathe. I want to have time to realign, to be able to hear from the Lord this summer, because my ministry is Higher Pursuit Ministries, which is helping women, predominantly women, but women and men, in their pursuit of the Lord, whether it is emotionally, spiritually, or physically. And so if I am tapped out and running myself ragged, that's sort of counterintuitive to the whole message I want to put out there. And so prioritizing the presence of the Lord to get that next season direction. So I'm moving out in my next season on purpose, not reactive. So that is my goal for the summer, right in a nutshell.
Love it. Yeah. All right, Elise. And then Dawn, you'll be up next.
Hi guys. So I help predominantly young moms who want to start businesses, um, start them without losing their mind. That's like the goal, right? So they have to keep these little people alive and also keep this business alive, which is kind of like a little baby. And so finding time, making your priorities for real. And so I just help them walk through that process in the season that they're in. So
And
that's
you
what I
got a little
do.
one, so
Yes, I
you're
do.
living
I
it.
have a little one. He's 2. So yeah, he's awesome. And this summer I am purposely not adding anything
Mm,
to my plate. That's the goal. So that I can just be this summer.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. And that takes intention, right? And a commitment because there are a lot of things that will come our way over the next couple months that would
Yes.
love to take up some of our time. So yeah, I love that. All right, Dawn, and then Sabrina, you'll be up next.
Hi, everyone. I am the owner of Broken Vessel Sales, so I help companies and sales professionals with a hybrid model. So most of them are burnt out from either traveling and being on the road to give them a better work-life balance by helping with CRMs and trainings and using inside sales skills. So those are the people that I serve. So I would say probably my biggest thing right now is um, I have parts of my business that are really working really well. And so there's some parts that are not. So this summer, I really want to focus in on the parts that aren't, and really getting them realigned and moving forward so that everything's working well together, not just one part of the business. So that's what I'm working on right now.
Yeah, and summer's such a great season to pull back and be able to do some of those back end things. So that
Yes.
way, when you're ready for some of the fall ramp up, then everything is hopefully chugging along as it should be, right? All right, Sabrina, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then Amy, you'll be up next.
Yeah, so I'm Sabrina Hammonds, founder and owner of Kingdom Connections podcast and media agency. So I get to partner with who I call transformational leaders who have a culture shifting message. And we get to help them grow their visibility, their community, their business by connecting them on podcast opportunities, virtual events, so that they can connect with their ideal audience and go beyond the social media posting and really begin to target and connect with their people. And so I would say the goals for this summer are twofold. So I have just had my website completely redone and rebranded, as well as back end systems have been built. I hired someone to do that. And so those are two very key things that have taken place. And so now the website is going to be launched and then I have the systems in place. So really I want to, like you said, Dawn, just there's some back end things. I want to be able to understand how to run those over the summer so that in the fall, when we're kind of back in more school mode, the business is able to kind of run well. And then also the other side to that is really spending more time with my family because my husband is a teacher full time. And so he's off for the summer. And so even though I'm not off, I really want to have that extra time for us to be able to do things together and still homeschool some, in the summer as well. So yeah.
Yes, I remember as a teacher thinking, how do people work year round? Like doesn't everybody get the summer off and need the summer off? And so there is yeah, something about that rhythm and wanting to be present with him when he's got that off. I love it. All right, Amy, you're up next, and then Cassie, you'll be after Amy.
Hello, my name is Amy, and I have a health and wellness business. I run online classes in the mornings. I never stopped after COVID. I started, and I still do them every day. And I also run a program for menopausal, perimenopausal, and menopausal women who are trying to deal with the sometimes really debilitating symptoms of that season of life, and the all of the things that that entails, but doing it in a way where it's more whole person wellness. So we're focusing on what are you thinking? How are you feeling? Are you getting the right sleep? There's a huge list of things that we need to go through to make sure that you're checking those off, but not in a way that is guilt ridden, but in a way that's Christ centered, also uh, focused on your ultimate goal of having vitality again, because nobody needs to be living a life where they feel like they're not themselves as women. So that's
Love
me.
it.
And then this
What do you have
summer,
planned for the summer? Yeah.
yeah. Um, I'm in a crossroads because this is my side hustle. It's my passion, of course, but you know, I live in California, and between being distracted with the riots and everything else politically, and trying to, not be the I'm hungry mom every 2 seconds distractions. I'm trying to figure out, do I get a full-time job again, or do I just really pursue this wholeheartedly? Because you have to have some kind of cash flow, and it's like, do I don't know. It's like the horse before the cart, or yeah, I'm at a place of complete odds. I don't know what to do. I'm really crying out to the Lord for direction. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Get it. If you're going to be doing something like this, we need to be producing results, which is
Yes.
why we're focusing on our time. I did a lot
Yes.
earlier this week. If you're not seeing the revenue, I believe time is the number one place to go to first, because you can have all the great fancy bells and whistles and things like that. But if you are not consistently focusing your time in the right places, you're not going to see, right, those results. So, all right, Cassie, tell us about you, and then Tori, you'll be up next.
Hey guys, I'm Cassie Eichley, and I have three kids, almost 10, 7, and 3. So I'm a stay-at-home homeschooling mom, and that takes a lot of my time. They are swimmers and they play instruments and all the things. So I feel like I'm running all the time just with that. And then business-wise, I teach moms how to streamline their homes so they can get extra hours back in their week. And I do that through teaching them how to declutter, set effective routines, meal plan, and budget. And for this summer, for me, last summer just blew by, and I didn't even go to the coast once with my kids, and it's only 2 hours away. So I've actually sat down, penciled in days for hiking at least once a week, and I want to go to the coast at least 3 times this summer. So that's my goal.
Love it. It's so interesting. We can live so close and yet feel so far away because, yeah, it's a matter of making time for it. So I love that you've already penciled those things in, Cassie. That's amazing. All right, Tori, tell us a little bit about you and your business and what you're making time for this summer.
My business is called God in the Gaps, and it's a Christian content-based brand showing vlogs about young adults and faith-based film commentary to show how God moves in everyday life and how we can reach God in practical ways. And my goal, I'm still building out. This business is more of a side hustle, but it's to post consistently for weekly vlogs and to show the film commentary to launch that as well. It will be called What Would Jesus Do? And lastly, to develop 1 to 3 mockumentary episodes based on based on how like young Christian women live. And I at least want to reach 50 subscribers by the end of the summer.
Fantastic. I love some very specific goals and some big vision for those things that you're building. And yeah, as you're spreading that out there, I love it. Lisa, I know you're driving. Are you able to unmute and say hello? Or are you okay? Yes, looks like it.
Yes, I can. Wow, what an amazing group of women
I
that I
know,
just want
right?
to go to. Yes, I want to go to each one of your websites and learn all about each of you. You're just incredible. So, hello everybody. My name is Lisa Whitman, different than Lissa, but kind of spelled similar, but with just one less S. And I don't know, based on what I'm looking at, I don't know that any of you actually need what I do, but I'm going to tell you what I do anyway. I help women business owners have confidence on camera. I own a video and brand messaging content creation company and help entrepreneurs, especially women business owners who are faith based, to be able to step in front of the camera confidently and be able to share their story and amplify their message. I also work with everything from entrepreneurs all the way up to enterprise level companies to help with video content creation, from promo videos to commercials to social media content, subject matter expertise, all of those good things. So I love it. I love what I do. I am a wife. I'm a mom of 5 children. I have a grandbaby. And so Lisa and I are both really excited about having grandbabies in our lives. And my goal this summer, I should say, is to revamp my website. It has been untouched for almost 12 years. And I'm embarrassed by the fact that it's the cobbler that doesn't have shoes for their own children. I think that's my problem. So I am working to try and update my website, and also just trying to take time to weave some peace and rest into our busy work lives. My husband and I both own the company together. I love hearing about women and hormones because I am also a fully certified functional medicine health coach. But my day job is helping brand messaging and build businesses through video.
I love
Thanks for
it.
having me.
And I'm just going to say, I think every single one of us right now, we're in front of a camera right now, right? So, yes, to say that we're not in front of a camera and don't need confidence is, yes, would be not accurate. We do. We all need that. So, I love it. And before we leave today, I'm going to have everyone drop either your website or your email or whatever would be the best way for people to find out more about you and connect. We'll do that in the chat at the end. So remind me if for some reason we get going and I forget that part, because I think this is a great way to connect with other Christian women in business, right? And I love the fact that we have this common theme of this is what God has called us to. It's not just some great idea that we decided one day that we're going to do, that there is this deeper meaning and purpose behind it. And there's this deeper meaning and purpose behind our time, right? I often think about Matthew 6, where Jesus is in the Sermon on the Mount and he's teaching about what life in the kingdom looks like. And in that chapter, he's talking about those who don't walk with God and those who do. And, he says, like, those who are without God, they're running around chasing all these things, like it all depends on them, right? He says, but you in my kingdom, seek me first and my way of doing things, and all these things will be added to you, right? And so we are each one of us trusting that not only has God called us into the business and the life and the ministries that we are part of, but He's also equipped us not only with the experiences and the expertise, but also with the time that we have, right? And so, how do we really steward that time well? So, I want to give you a little bit of time first. We're going to start with, before I, kind of go into helping you kind of come up with a framework. We're going to take some time to really actually like get real specific about what we want for this summer, right? Like I've kind of asked you to talk about it, and it's really easy to have like these grandiose goals or, kind of this like maybe a fuzzy picture of what we want things to look like. But how often do we take time to really sit down and go, and exactly what does this look like? Right? We kind of just have this idea, but life keeps going on. And so then we just keep going with the flow. And how many of us have gotten to the end of August and been like, where did summer go? Right? And we had all these great intentions, we had all these great things we wanted to do. And both in business and enjoying the summertime. And it feels like that time tends to run through our fingers. So if you have and you're able to grab some paper, and I'm going to give you a few minutes to do a little bit of writing some things down. This will probably not be like the entirety of the time that you want to spend, I would encourage you, like, as we go through some of these questions, write down what's coming to mind now, and then take this to the Lord when you are spending some time with Him next, whether that's later today or tomorrow. And yeah, really ask for some clarity. Some of you were talking about that today around what this looks like. So this first area is around your summer vision. Okay, so what do you want your summer to look like in your life and business? And again, I don't just want to have this pie in the sky thing. I want us to get really tangible. And so I want you to think in two categories. The first are your business goals, right? And I want you to think about how much time are you working? So whether that's a number of hours per week, or whether that's a number of days per week, or a combination of those, like what do you want that to look like? And how much revenue do you want to bring in from that time? Okay, so how much time do you want to be working this summer? And what kind of revenue would you like to be bringing in? Now, maybe it's like one big chunk that you're kind of saying over the summer, I want this chunk, or maybe you're breaking it down June, July, August. But take a minute and write those two things down. What would you really like that to look like this summer? Your time and then the result on that time. And there are a whole lot of other things that could go under that side as to how you're actually going to break that down or make that happen, right? But making those decisions first is going to help direct where your time goes. Let's look just, and again, for sake of time, we're going to kind of like move you on to this next piece. Let's look at like what you desire to be doing when you're not working, right? So when you're not working, what are things that you will be doing or not doing? And how do you want that time to feel? So what are you feeling that time when you're not in your office or in front of a screen, right? Including this little rectangle that follows us to the beach and to the pool and to all those other places that we want to get away. Maybe think about it this way. This is the summer. I want to have time for dot dot dot. What would make you say August 31st? That was the best summer in a long time. Jot down a few things that come to mind, and then I'm going to ask if a couple people want to share because I have a feeling we're not alone in some of these things, and so I'd love to hear what would make this the best summer in a really long time in both life and business. I'd love for one or two people to share. Doesn't have to be everything you just wrote down, but maybe a couple things that you just wrote down. What do those goals look like when it comes to your time with your business? And what do those goals look like when it comes to not business, life?
For me, I said at least 5 hours a week because I'm still beginning to build it. But I said 2 hours for editing, 3 hours for editing and posting. And I'm not sure about the revenue because I'm still working on how YouTube works. And then on my free time to plan a vacation because I haven't done one in a year. And then also progress on spending time with God, memorizing scripture, and friends and family.
Yeah, I love it. Somebody else? Anyone else?
I
So
can
a couple
share.
things go ahead.
Go ahead.
Serena, go
So
ahead.
I'll just share just two things really quickly. So under the business goals, not work any more than 12 hours per week. And then personal is the Fridays off. So
Mm,
3 hours Monday through Thursday only. And then Fridays would just be completely off. for family time.
Mm, love it. Love it. Cassie, what were you going to share?
Business wise, I'm doing two product launches this summer, one in July and one in at the end of June. And I'd love for those to go well. And also by the end of the summer, I want to have the first season of my brand new podcast done. And yeah, I'm not working, just kind of what I already talked about, really being intentional about taking the kids to the park, going to the coast, really just letting them soak up summer as a kid.
Mm, yeah, yeah. And being a kid with them again too, right? Yeah. Is there anyone else who wants to share? I don't want to hold anyone back if there's something that's on your heart. Sometimes saying it out loud, right, really makes it real, right? It's one thing to like think it, it's one thing to write it. Go ahead, Dawn.
I would say so. I'm taking Fridays off as well. But with that, not thinking about the business 24/7. So even on
Mm,
those days that you're off, like on that Friday, not thinking about the business. Saturday, Sunday, not thinking about the business and all of that. And so that I can enjoy time with my family, more time with God, and just really like rest and restore for those 4 days that I am working.
yeah, yeah. Did anyone else relate to that? Like the brain not turning off, even if the screen is, and yeah, like not being in the room, but not fully being in the room. Go ahead, Amy.
And not feeling guilty
Yeah,
for wanting that rest, that contentment, and that time with your family. Not like to be pulled in two different directions is not good. It's not, I don't think the Lord wants that for us at
right.
all.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. He
that's
says,
my
"Come to
goal.
me, those of you who are, worn out, burned out. Like I'm going to give you rest. Let me show you how to carry life in a whole different way." Right? That's his invitation. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I think so many of us can resonate with so many different things, whether the tactical, practical things you're wanting to do, or whether they're more of like how you want somewhere to feel. And here's the thing, it doesn't just happen, right? Like we start with this vision. We have to have this vision of what we want it to look like. Then we have to get really clear goals, right? Otherwise, we're just going to have a bunch of to-dos and busyness, and it's time is just going to get away from us, right? And then we need to actually have a plan, right? Where that we are committed to and we keep recommitting to, and we are able to adapt as summer unfolds. But bigger, higher level, before we get into a few more specifics, I want you to think about some time decisions that you would need to make in order to make this happen. What would need to happen with your time in order to make some of the things that you wrote down a reality? I heard some of you specifically say taking off Friday. So that means you're not making your calendar available to other people. You're not intending to spend that day on projects. You're maybe like Cassie, you're actually scheduling to be away from the house so that way you can't get caught back up into that. But I want you to write down like what would need to happen with your time to make some of these things happen, whether it's that life stuff that you're away from work or whether it's some of those goals and projects that you want to work on when you are working. What would need to happen with your time to make that happen? It might be things you need to block off. It might be boundaries you need to set. It might be that in some way, maybe you're deleting some things in this season, like it just doesn't need to happen, or you're delegating something, handing it off to somebody else, or you're just delaying it until fall. It's okay. What would you focus your time on to make that vision happen? What would you do or not do this summer to create space with your time for these things that really matter? Jot down maybe one, two, or three decisions you would need to make or things you would need to do with your time to make that vision happen. Anyone want to share? What's a decision that either you would need to make or you already have made or you're willing to make now? Cecily, go ahead. Start us off.
Um, I'm going to need to block a half day at least to reconfigure my whole calendar.
Mm,
Because right now I have blocks within my calendar for my current workflow. So if I want to strip half the hours out of my week and condense my workflow down to 4 days and not have five, then I need to take a half day to just go get quiet, look at my calendar and say, okay, so now what's going to go where?
Mm.
And then I think it was Cassie who said, you've already planned certain days to go away. I live 15 minutes from the beach. And so I have zero excuse for not getting there. And there have been the past couple summers where it's gone by and I thought, what the what?
Mm.
So I need to plan those times. And my daughter also needs help watching two of our grandchildren. So my off day may have just become a nanny day. But if that's the case, then I want to make sure that I'm still having that breathing room for just me. If
Mm.
I'm going to now step into a new family role, then that's so I just need to I need to take that day
Mm.
and schedule
Yeah, yeah.
my new
We'll
calendar.
we'll talk about how to do that in just a minute. I love that. Yes. And maybe
Awesome.
you can take those grandkids to the beach and you can,
Oh,
do two
yes.
things in one. I love
Yes.
it. Somebody else, what's the decision that you would need to make? What's something that would need to happen with your time in order to make this vision you have for the summer happen?
I'll say, Lisa, that I'm extremely frustrated right now that my time spent is not generating revenue.
Mm.
And so I'm going, okay, well, what would have to change about my time? It's like I'd have to be doing something different. I'm
Okay.
not doing the right activities. I'm not doing the right things, apparently. Because I feel like I'm working 5 days a week and not making any money at my business. So my business is not like even working. And I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. And if you're going to give that kind of time to something, I mean, you could go work for somebody else and have a guaranteed paycheck, right? But, there's freedom and flexibility in doing our own business. And so seeing the results.
only if you get paid for it.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. So I love that.
So
And that would be some good things to do, Toby, is to really like take a bigger picture look and say, where am I spending my time right now? And is it something about this area that there's just maybe a different way that I need to tweak this? Or is this just something that, I just can, if the more I throw time at it, it's just not producing anything. Maybe there's a different area that would be better spent investing time in. And oftentimes less is more. And so that's a process that well, I think it'll be really good for you to take some time to pull back and look at it and know that you are not alone. Anyone else ever struggle with like feeling like you put in a lot of time? Some amens here, right? Like, yeah, not putting a lot of time, but not always seeing the results from that. Sometimes it's just a timing thing, and it's just cycles of, of our business or the season of the year or things like that. But certainly when it starts making us feel frustrated, right, we need to push pause and really do some evaluating. And I'm going to talk to you about the Rody method in just a minute, looking at that return on time invested. That's why this is so important. Anyone else? Anyone else want to share something on this? Time decisions, what would need to happen to make that vision happen?
So for me, I'm wondering about using a little bit of time on like a Sunday evening to plan and map out my week because what I've been doing, because I typically do work Monday through Friday, is Monday is my planning day. And so I don't take calls. Sometimes I don't even get out of my pajamas. It's really just like I spend more time with the Lord. So it's kind of like setting up my week. But if I don't want to work on Fridays, I'm just wondering like
Mm.
maybe I could spend a little bit of time on Sunday evenings in order to look ahead. And then Monday, I could like create all my content, my podcast episodes. And so I kind of jotted down just some ideas for what that week would look like. And I'm not intending necessarily to bring on new clients, but really it's more of like, let's have a reset and let's make sure that the foundation is operating as it should so that the increase, when it comes, like I'm able to handle that. And so I think what I've been doing is I'm trying to do both. I'm trying to work on the back end stuff. I'm trying to, and so I'm thinking, really, I don't necessarily have to, because what I know the Lord is saying is your foundation needs to be able to sustain
Mhm.
the increase and those that I am bringing to you. And if you don't stop and work on the foundation, then it's not going to, yeah.
Yeah,
So
sustain the fruit.
I,
It's so true, right? It's the roots first, and then they can sustain and hold the fruit, right? And we want to just get to the shiny fruit. We just want to get to that point, right? But I think it's so valuable in putting that time in. And I love that weekly planning is something that you're seeing a value in. And one of the things I'm going to show you in a minute is instead of having, like every week being different, having a template that you can use each week that's going to make that process even quicker. And then you can adapt to the needs of the week, in front of you. So, anybody else, anything that would need to happen or decisions that you would need to make?
I have a quick question, and I don't know if this is, I know it's not along the lines of what you asked, but are there any women in the call on the call who are the main breadwinners of their family? And I ask that because for me, the challenge is my husband and I own the business together, but I am the business development person. I am the seller creator, and then we don't have another stream of revenue. So in essence, he works for me, although we work the business together, but the buck stops with me. If I don't bring in our clients, if I don't maintain the relationships with our clients and continue to sell and do sales enablement and marketing, then he essentially doesn't have a job because he does all of the back end and you know, uh, all of the, proposals and make sure that the things are coming in on time and on budget. So that's a hard one for me because I want to start working my way out of a job, but or at least reducing my hours and spending more time with my kids and my family. But it's hard because I am on the front lines of making sure that we are putting money, into all of our team and bringing money into the family. Does anybody else have a similar scenario for being able to balance things?
So I'm not the only breadwinner. So my husband, he's like the main one. But if I didn't have my business and have it like generating revenue, I couldn't do it. Like we have to, we're a two income family. And so either I don't, this business works and I make money, or I don't and I go get another job. And so I feel that kind of pressure as well, that if this doesn't work, then I have to find another full-time job to make it work. So it's not the exact same thing, Lisa, but I would say I kind of feel that same pressure.
Yeah, you get it. You get it. And
And
that's where we just like really rely on the Lord to say,
Yeah.
okay, you be my business development manager.
Yes.
and I think
Yeah.
we all feel this burden to some extent, right? Of just like, I don't know about you guys, but if I'm going to spend time in something, I want it to feel like I'm going somewhere. I want to feel like it's producing fruit. I want to feel like it is effective and impactful and all the things, whether that's, it's a ministry that I'm growing or whether it's, a business that I'm building. And so I think there is that, that tension or that heaviness that we feel sometimes as business owners, which is going to take me actually, thanks for setting it up, Lisa, into this next question. And that is, what are your thoughts as you say these things out loud? As you think about this vision you have for this summer with your time, as you think about the vision that you have for your business, right, and the results you would like to see, what is the next thought that you think when you say those things out loud? I want you to capture, when you're like, like, do you say like all of this and then, yeah, but, or if only, or like, I want you to just write down because I want you to capture that right now. What is that next thought when you're like, I would love to, this is what I really want for my business and my life this summer. And then what comes after that? What thought pops up? I want you to capture that and write it down. Or maybe think about scale of 1 to 10. How much do I believe this is possible? Am I like, maybe even how does time feel like an obstacle? Anyone else saying, if I had time, if only I had time, when I had time, then I would, then I could? Like this really important thing that we have to do is we have to make sure that we take these thoughts captive, right? And say, okay, is this of the Lord, right? Or is this the enemy trying to get me busy and distracted and discouraged and detoured, and off going, spinning in circles here? And I'm not necessarily gonna, ask you to share out loud, but I would really encourage you to spend some time, what I call it CEO journaling with the Lord, around that thought that you have around your time as you look at your vision and as you look at your goals. Because we can have things mapped out, but if then we're telling ourselves, but I don't have time, or yeah, but I always end up, things end up taking longer than I think, or everybody always needs me, like kind of a why do I bother? We are self-sabotaging, ourselves, right? I don't even think that's possible. I don't even know if I could do that in 24 hours, right? Like all of those things. Take those thoughts to the Lord, right? And really ask Him what He would speak into that. Because if He has called you to it, like we said earlier, then He has given you what you need to do it, right? So maybe there is some pruning that needs to happen, that some things do need to be released in this season to free up some space and time. And maybe some of it is that we're just spinning in circles up here. And that's why then, it feels like we're spinning in circles, out there in all of that way. So I would love just a quick answer to this question. How does it feel like time is an obstacle when you think about these things that you would love to see happen this summer? How does time feel like it's in the way or the challenge or what's keeping you from it? Cecily, go ahead. Oh, you're not. I unmuted.
Okay, there
There
we
you
go.
go.
Um, I feel like I have a problem with wasting time, with allowing time to slip through my fingers without really even knowing what I did. I feel like I can walk into a room and get engrossed in some, I don't know, project that does not need to be done that day. But in my mind, all of a sudden, this is urgent, or let's just do this right now. Some of it is procrastination from things I don't want to do. So unloading the dishwasher is easy.
All of a sudden, that feels really
I can get a
exciting.
little dopamine hit of I got something accomplished today. And so I end up by frittering away time. So allowing myself to have more space is almost scary because when I'm like that, I am a little bit more of a drill sergeant with myself. I actually do better under pressure than I do with space. And my concern is at the end of the summer, I guess the little lie I hear in my head is at the end of the summer, I won't have pushed the needle forward at all in anything. And I will, I just, that's my concern is that I will be 2 months farther behind the eight ball in lack of results.
Anyone else relate to the end of a day, the end of a week, the end of a month? What all did I do? I felt really busy, but like what did I even get done? Yeah. And then all of a sudden the laundry looks really exciting, or like you said, unloading the dishwasher or whatever that other little thing is, right? Anybody
I
else?
just
Go
I
ahead.
just have to say thank you, Cecily, because you make the rest of us feel normal.
Ah,
Like that this is not just your problem. Every woman, I think, has this issue, and you're absolutely right. It's so easy to do the things that are easy.
mm,
It's really hard to do the things that we don't want to do. Like I don't want to work on marketing. I'm sorry. It's like the last thing on my list that I want
sure.
to do,
Yeah.
but it's a
Yeah.
necessary thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you for normalizing it and making me feel like I'm not a weirdo.
Yeah, you are not. And I think a lot of us can relate to, yeah, the fact that our time could really be easily distracted, inconsistent. Anybody feel like you're kind of on again, off again, and then like recommit, okay, it's Monday or it's a new day or a new week, a new month, and I'm back at it. Or it's very reactive, right? Where it's just kind of like it feels like whatever's the urgent thing that's popping up, whatever's on fire, whatever's the squeaky wheel, whatever is, that's what's getting our time. And then we wonder, yeah, why we're not seeing growth towards the things that we want to do. Amy, did you want to say something else?
Yeah, one more thing, just so you all know that wherever you're at on your journey as a woman with your cycle, there are scientifically proven because of the way that your hormones flow. There are portions of time during the cycle where you're just ready to hammer. And then there are portions of time where your progesterone levels are dropping or whatever, and you just want to hibernate. And just to know that that's normal. And then when you're going through perimenopause, it's just all over the place. So you need to give yourself grace to ride the waves of your hormonal roller coaster because we all have it. And it doesn't matter who you are. Everyone has those dips and highs as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Thank you for that reminder. Yes, that there are some things that are going on in our bodies that that do bring up challenges, right? And things in the season of life we're in. So like Cassie shared that, these small chunks of time, and sometimes it's hard to really actually get to a completion point of things because you're always feel like you're stopping and starting and that type of thing. And so here is where then it really comes down to like, okay, how do I take this time that God has given me, this 24 hours, and not cram it, so full and like tightly, time block everything such that it is so strict and everything feels like when one thing gets off, it becomes this, like rush hour pile up. But how do I steward this thing well? And how do I invest this in such a way that it is going to bring growth? And so I want to walk you through a few things that can be helpful, for you as you're thinking about what you need in place this summer. Some of you already have this, but I'm going to go ahead and drop the link to this summer audit that I shared out this week because I think this will be helpful as you're kind of looking at some of these different tools to have in place to really like direct your time in where it's going. And I want to go ahead and share my screen too, because if you're like me, sometimes it's nice to have a visual of what things look like. So, okay, I need to move us out of the way. I'm going to put us way over here. Okay. All right. So I want to, over the next few minutes, show you how we can be productive and profitable and present. Like as I listen to you, these are the words that keep coming up as I have conversations, with women, as I think about my time, and even just as you guys shared, right? We want to be productive, where I'm actually doing the things that need to be done and seeing, that they're getting done, but I want to be profitable, that we're bringing some kind of a return on that. But then we also want to be present, right? That we're not always working in our head, that we are actually really showing up where it is that, we are called to be. And so here is the thing, right? Is that we can look at time as our biggest obstacle or as our greatest opportunity. And so I'm going to challenge you to start looking at time as your most valuable business asset, right? Instead of seeing it as this thing that's keeping you from what you want to grow, how can I leverage this? How can I use this? How can I invest this to really grow something that will really grow what the Lord is calling me to, right? There's a difference when you look at something as an asset versus an obstacle, right? And so that mindset piece is something that I talk with women a lot about because we have this, like we're already going in defeated when it comes to our time. And so we really want to look at time as our most valuable business asset. And the truth is that we don't get any more, right, than those 24 hours, right? We get those 24 hours. And so what we want to do is we want to, let me see if I can make this slide go, take that time that we have and focus on how we're investing it. None of us, no matter how much we wish for the extra hour in a day, who would love 25? Who's ever said, if I had one more hour in the day, then everything would be different? Yeah, right. For like maybe a day, and then it would just get filled with the same types of things, right? It's really not about the amount of time, it's about the value of what we do with it. This is what separates what I call a busyness owner who wonders where their time went. They were busy, right? Doing a lot of things, but like I don't really have a whole lot of fruit to show for it, versus a CEO, a Christ empowered operator who's telling their time where to go, who's being intentional with it. And so what first we have to recognize is that we do have time. Because as long as we tell ourselves, I don't have time, right? There's not time. If only there was time, when there was time, then I would, then we're not going to be viewing time as an asset. And it is always going to be this thing we're fighting against, right? So you have time. The question is, how are we going to invest it? Right? Now, we do experience challenges around these times. And so as I listen to you guys and as I talk with other women, there are three main ones that I hear. One, a lot of demands on our time. There are a lot of people and things that need and want us, right? Some of them invited, some of them uninvited, including the devices that follow us around and want to ring, ding, and ping at us all day long and get our attention, right? And distract us, right? So we have a lot of things pulling on us. Anyone feel like you're being pulled in 10 directions at the same time most of the time, right? There are a lot of different things between life and business and roles and ministries and the house and all those things. The second thing is this growing to-do list. There's always more to do. Anyone ever feel like, yeah, I always get to the end of my to-do list and it's like, I haven't finished early. Like, wow, like, no, hello. Mostly when I talk to, it's like, oh, there's one more thing, there's one more thing, there's one more thing. And that's why I think we keep always working in our heads because we're never done. because there's always more that we could or should be doing, or we tell ourselves we could or should be doing, right? And then there's the tyranny of the urgent. Who fights against that, right? Those things that pop up that like maybe I had a plan, but all of a sudden now this feels more important. And so now this is getting my time and I'm more focused on, like just the in real time things versus the bigger growth types of things. And when we start focusing on these three things, then we see time as the obstacle instead of the opportunity. So instead, we want to say, okay, how can time be the opportunity in these areas? And one of the things that I teach is called, I don't know why it's showing this little pencil here, so sorry if that's covering that up for you. Maybe if I make my screen go bigger. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, I don't know why that pencil's going there, but it's called the ROTI method, ROTI, return on time invested, right? As a CEO, who is looking at time as our biggest asset, we want to invest time wisely with an expectation of return. So I'm so glad, Toby, that you brought this up because you're not the only person who's feeling this way. And when you talked about this, that it can feel like my time is going a lot of places, but it's not producing much, right? And so what a CEO does is they make strategic decisions about their time. They are putting it in places that they're expecting a return, and they pause to measure that roadie, right? And say, okay, like what shifts need to happen? Because if I'm not seeing that return on time invested, then it's all about where I'm investing time. That's what return on time invested means. If you invested money in something and you weren't seeing a return, you wouldn't just keep your money there, right? You would make some strategic decisions about where your money was going. So the same thing is true with our time. So if you are also, in that place where you're like, I'm either not seeing the results from all my time or I'm not seeing as much as I would like to from all the time I'm putting in, then we want to be really leaning into looking at where am I investing my time and what kind of roadie return on time invested am I seeing? So let me show you a few solutions that can help you as you're looking at your summer. We'll kind of walk through these over these three different sides here, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to evaluate where you are. And some of this is in that audit you have there in front of you, so you can feel free to look at that now while we're going, or you can look at that later on your own. So, all right. Our answer to the demand, so many demands in our time, is having CEO schedules, right? If we don't tell our time where to go, we'll wonder where our time went, right? And we have to make sure that we are taking time to, like Sabrina was talking about, before the week starts, taking time to plan out what are my priorities this week? Where is my time going? What does this need to look like? Right. And really looking at what are the needs of this season, like Cecily talked about, right? Like, what are the things I really want to invest in this season and not letting those all the other things fill up that time. And so there really are a couple different steps as we do this. The first one is what is part of what I call capacity by design. If we leave things to default, guess what? Someone and something will fill up your time, right? Has anyone ever had time that didn't get filled with something? No, right? So, but we want to be doing it by design. We want to be intentionally making those decisions about what are the priorities in this season and what are the extras. What are the oranges and the Skittles, if you've seen me do that illustration back here, right? What are the things that are really adding the juice and the nutrients? And what are the things that are just taking up space? We have to make some decisions and have some discernment around that first. Otherwise, it's going to feel like life just gets filled up with Skittles all the time. The next thing we want to do is the next thing that we do is we start saying, okay, we want to have time anchors instead of just time blocks. I don't know about you, but I've done time blocking, and it can be sometimes it can feel good to see it all color coded, but then how well does it work out? And when things get off track, right? And when the one thing runs into the next, or something comes up that you didn't expect, it can be really, really frustrating. And so I really teach a way of looking at time anchors. And so it's these bigger, spacious blocks. And think about a boat that is anchored to something. It's not this really short, tight rope, right? There's a little bit of give there. There's some space because we know the waves are going to come, right? The wind is going to blow. That boat needs to move a little bit because otherwise, if something hits it, it's going to crash, right? And it's going to smash into a bunch of pieces. And so, how do we like have these kind of more spacious blocks of our time such that we always know the answer to this question? If you've not heard me share this yet, this will be in your brain from now on. What is it time for? Right? That is that question that anchors us to those times in our day about what is it time for? Is it time to be filling up with the Lord? Is it time to be, working on some of these systems or projects or back end things in my business? Is it time to close things up and go be with my family? Is it time to rest? And so this is part of what goes inside of those time anchors is knowing what it's time for. And for those of you who are talking about, like, I want to map out what my week looks like, that's what I call the ideal week. Not the perfect week, because we all know, right? We can have a plan and it doesn't mean it executes perfectly, but guaranteed when we have laid out what we are desiring our week to look like, because we've prayerfully considered what our priorities are, right? And how we want to anchor them into our days, then we will see a lot more happen than just hoping for the best, right? Just crash landing to Monday and hoping to get to Friday and hoping that something happened, in between there. And so here's where, Sabrina, I was sharing with you, when you have an ideal week template, it becomes this reusable thing that you can use to plan your week each week. Right. So for example, you mentioned Monday being your content days, right? And Monday, so what does my work time look like in those days, right? And your Fridays, Sabrina, were your family days. And so you have this rhythm that you're building and you're not starting from scratch, each time. So I want to read you these diagnostic questions on this audit, because this might be helpful just to see, like, how am I doing in this area? And I'm going to have you evaluate yourself in just a minute. So in the schedule check, it says, do you have a summer aligned work rhythm? So here are some diagnostic questions. You can just answer on paper yes or no for the ones for where you're at right now. Number one, have you intentionally chosen your summer work days and hours, or are you just seeing what happens day by day, week by week? Number two, is your calendar reflecting both business priorities and personal plans like vacation and family time and rest? Do you have those things blocked off? I love that. Was it? Cassie is already putting some of those things on her calendar, because if we don't actually put it on there, it's probably not going to happen. And number three, do you have an ideal week mapped out that supports your summer vision? Do you have this, like, I know what it's time for in my day and in my week, such that when it's Tuesday and I'm in this time of my day, I'm not in my head worrying about things that it's not time for right now, because if those things matter, they have a time, at a different time in my week. If not, you are going to always feel like you're behind and always working. How many of us often feel like we are behind, right? Or like we're always working, right? Because it's just this, like, one big, I don't know, blob, and we're hoping for the best, right? Or you're going to feel like you say yes too much and scramble to catch up later. How many of us are yes people and say way too many yeses, right? And we know, oh, I need to not say yes so often. Or we're going to feel like we reached August and summer just slipped away, right? But when you have a schedule in place, you're going to show up focused to your work hours, because this is when it's time to work, right? So that when you're with your family or when you're resting or when you're with the Lord, like, that's what it's time for. And you're not going to be distracted by those other things. And so this is how we're going to be able to, like, take back control of our time, feeling like it slips through our fingers when it comes throughout the summer. Okay. So if you have that in front of you, there's a little checklist at the bottom, which can help you. So here are the things that you'll need to have in place if you want to make sure that you're telling your time where to go. Number one, a 3-month summer calendar mapped out with vacations, visitors, commitments. Do you have that so you can actually see the bigger picture of how all this flows? That is going to be a real key. Number two, do you have a clear summer work schedule? Right? These are the days and the hours that I'm going to be working on my business, so that I know what those look like. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't adjustments or things, like, that we are able to make decisions in when invitations come up and things like that. But having that set out so that I know what I want consistency to look like. Do you have an ideal week plan for the summer that's going to put momentum and margin in there? And do you have some kind of a summer reset routine? So that either weekly, like Sabrina talked about, like coming back and like resetting for the next week, or monthly, like, you've got this time to realign before the week starts. So what I'd love for you to do is to drop in the chat, when you think about your schedules right now and some of those elements of it, would you say that you are a green? You've got all those things in place. Your time is super focused and you're seeing a great return on time invested. Drop that in the chat. Or maybe you're a yellow. Okay, I've got a couple of these things in place, but I still really get distracted and I'm seeing some return on investment, but not as much as I'd like. Or maybe you're red. Like, okay, Lissa, I don't have a whole lot in place and time often gets away from me and I'm not seeing a whole lot of results. So go ahead and drop what that in the chat, where you're at, a green, a yellow, a red when it comes to your schedules. Here's the thing, schedules are what help you be more present, right? So one of my CEOs, her name is Michelle, she went from working 6 days a week in this during the year that she's been doing down to 4 focus days. So she's got long weekends, like many of you said, with time to rest, right? And reset and be with family. No more working nights and weekends. That's retail, right? If you're the CEO, you get to decide, right, when you want to work. But schedules are work. It's what's going to help you be present because when you know what it's time for, then you don't have to feel that guilt tug of war. When you're working on your business, guilty that you're not with your family. And when you're with your family, guilty that you're not working on your business. Right? But if we just keep saying, I'm going to figure it out as I go, then time in summer is going to slip away. So, where do you feel like you are right now when it comes to those schedules? Drop that in the chat. I don't know if I'm able to see that while I'm sharing and stuff like that. Okay. Okay, so we've got a lot of yellows, so something's in place. Okay. Yeah. Some red, some growth areas that can come out of that. Okay, good. Okay, good. All right, let's move on to the next one. As we're looking at that growing to-do list, here is where we need to make sure that we have CEO systems in place, right? Because this is what's going to keep it from feeling like it's just one more thing and it just keeps getting added. How many of us have made a to-do list? And then where do we start when we go to work on that to-do list? We start at the top because that was the first thing we wrote down. But that doesn't mean it was the most important thing, right? So we want to make sure that we are creating systems for what needs to be done instead of it being all over the place. Um, Whoops, I screwed up that. The first one, the first part of this is making it what is using what I call the 4Ds decision matrix. What are your CEO tasks versus your non-CEO tasks? There are some things that you don't ever have to do. There are some things that do need to be done, but you're not the only person on the planet who can do them. And there are some things that do need to be done, but right now is not the time. And so the 4Ds are delete, delegate, delay, and that's not the same thing as procrastinate. Okay. Procrastinate is I know I need to be doing it now and I'm putting it off, like, when we did laundry in the dishwasher, right? But this is like, it's not time for right now because right now it's time for something else, right? So that we can do what is delighting and what is delighting the Lord because it's what he has called us to. So that's the first thing that we have to look at is what is it that really needs to get my attention in this season? Because not everything that's on that to-do list necessarily needs to stay there. The second thing is looking at the frequency factor, right? How often does this need to be done? Is this something that needs to happen daily? Is this something that needs to happen weekly? Is this something that happens monthly or seasonally, right? Because not everything happens at the same frequency and with the same priority. And so when we can start deciding when it needs our time and attention, then it won't just be plugging up our calendars because most things that we do, yes, I will make sure I send that out. So thanks for dropping that, Cicely. Most things that we do, I think, are on repeat. So how can we systemize things instead of just always adding them to a list, right? And so one of the things that I teach business owners to do is to make a CEO dashboard, right? Where imagine having one place when you sit down and everything is focused right in one place. You're not chasing to-do lists. You're not like playing hide and go seek on the tabs. I won't ask you to share how many tabs do you have open right now on your computer, right? You're not reinventing the wheel every single time. You have got things like, this is what needs my attention today, and I know exactly where that is. So if you're looking at the audit, here's what it looks like for summer. So what I've kind of done is gone, okay, what does this simply need to look like for us in the summertime? So in the schedules, we looked at like, okay, do I have, this bigger picture plan of my time for the summer? And do I have my ideal week map laid out for the systems? Do I have a simple weekly rhythm for content, emails, and follow-ups that I can stick to even when life gets full? Do I have that visibility workflow that I need to have in place? The second one, are your daily CEO tasks clearly outlined and easily repeatable, right? Do I know exactly what needs to happen and how often it needs to happen in my week? Or am I just kind of hoping that I remember and trying to get to things when I think of them? Who sometimes does something just because it pops in your head and you don't want to forget it. And so you're like, oh, I should do this right now because otherwise I might not remember this. Yeah, we want to make sure that we know when it's time to do that. And do you know exactly what needs to happen weekly to maintain your business momentum? Like, what are the things that need to happen? And if you look down at the bottom, here are the things I recommend you have this summer. Number one, a daily power hour workflow. What are those core CEO tasks that you need to do consistently every week? And do you have like this power hour where you're making sure that those things happen? The second one is a weekly visibility process. Like, do you have a way that you are staying visible even if you're away, even if you're checked out, even if you're on vacation and not online? Do you have what that looks like in place? Do you then have a repeatable lead flow system where like how am I connecting with people and how am I staying connected with them and how am I inviting them to that next step? And do you have one central place or are you living off to-do lists and tabs and post-it notes and all of that for all the things that you need to do? Okay. So when one of the clients that I worked with, Jackie, I talked about down here, like we got her systems in place And she streamlined everything down with these power hours and these consistent workflows. And now it keeps her on track. In fact, she told me the other day that it saves her 3 hours a day because she's not trying to find all the random things in random places. Everything is, in one place, and she knows exactly what to do when she sits down to work, and that saves time. And systems are what help us be more productive. So when you think about your CEO systems right now, right, is your time scattered and random and all of that, or is it really streamlined and focused? Okay, so let's go ahead and tell me if you are a green, a yellow, or a red. Green, yep, I've got all these things in place. Things are streamlined and simplified. I'm seeing lots of return on time in this area, so that's a green light. A yellow one would be some things are in place, but I definitely need to create some more, and I want to see more return on the time invested. And a red one, maybe systems are non-existent and you're just kind of going off of what pops in your head and you're not seeing much return on time invested because your time is scattered and inconsistent and things like that. If we're being random or reinventing the wheel, we will have inconsistent results, right? Because that is what's going to happen when our time is inconsistent. So our results are going to be inconsistent. So for those of you who are looking at, I'm not really seeing the results I'd like to see, look at your consistency. Do I have systems that are keeping my time focused intentionally, right? Or is it more random? And that definitely can be why we don't see the consistent results that are happening. All right, drop those. Okay, a lot of yellows on this one. Okay, okay. All right, in the last area, that tyranny of the urgent, right? We have to be thinking like CEOs with strategies, bigger picture. Where am I going and where am I growing? Otherwise, we will get caught just putting out fires all day long, right? Or paying or doing the things that feel urgent because it feels important in the moment, but doesn't necessarily move us in the direction that we want to go. And so the first part of this section is really looking at our bigger vision with what I call the CEO vision builder and living from this vision point versus the vantage point. So, have you ever been, like maybe you're in the woods and all you can see are the trees right in front of you, right? And on the other side of that is the park or the pool or the beach or whatever it is that you're trying to get to. But all you can see is just all the stuff that's around you. But if you could get up to a higher peak in that area, you could actually see where it is that you're going. Right. And so that's what we have to do as business owners. We have to have this, like, I have this bigger vision of where I'm going, not just what I can see, 2 feet in front of me, because otherwise we're going to be very reactive, right, with our time if we're just going from that place. Then we want to map out, right? Where do I want to grow? Like, how do I want my I call it my growty roadmap, right? Like, what do I want my results to be over the next 12 months? And what are the goals that are actually going to help me move in that way? So if any of you are taking road trips this summer, right? You decide what your destination is, but then you lay out the milestones about how you're going to get there, right? And so you've got that mapped out. It's not just I want to go to Disney and I'm hoping I'm going to get there sometime, right? Like you are actually going to put some things in place and figure out exactly how you're going to get from where you are to where you want to be in the time that you want to be there, right? And then as you go on, and then as you go, you're going to focus on the part that you're in. And so the beautiful thing about summer is we've got 12 weeks in front of us, right? I call this the incredible quarter, whether or not it's a new quarter in the calendar, doesn't matter, right? And one of the things that I teach women in business to do is not just keep saying, I'm going to do this year. How many of us get to December and those great things that we said back in January, like we're no closer than we were, or hardly, right? But like having those 12-week focus cycles where it's like, this is what I'm focusing on the next 12 weeks. And then we can do more in 12 weeks than most do in 12 months. So as you're looking at your summer, and we're looking at the strategy check, do you have a single clearly defined goal or project that you are committed to completing by August 31st? Are you trying to chase a whole bunch of things? If you're trying to chase too many things, you're not going to see them happen, right? You're not going to make enough progress towards any of them to really make much of a difference. So it's having that one thing. Is that goal then broken down into monthly milestones and weekly steps so you know exactly what to focus on? Or is it, okay, this is what I want, and I'm just hoping that I'm going to get there? And then are you tracking your progress in a way that motivates you to keep going? And yes, I think it is okay to reward ourselves. That's part of this process that I teach is what are you going to do when you reach this endpoint such that you are able to, like celebrate the fact that you just did what you said you were going to do. And here's the thing. Sometimes we do our best to try to figure out what a timeline is on something, but it doesn't always happen that way, especially in summertime, and that's okay. Am I consistently moving towards that, right? Then I still think that there's reason to celebrate. So this summer, I'm going to encourage you to pick one main thing that you want to do. I heard some of you mention back-end systems and some different things that you want to make sure are set up correctly. Break down one and break it down into doable chunks instead of trying to chase, 3, 5, 10 things and not feeling like we're getting anywhere, right? And when you do that, not only will you actually see yourself get to that finish line, but now you're setting yourself up to trust yourself for whatever that next thing is, right? And so each time we do that, we are building that trust, in ourselves and seeing, okay, I can do that. And strategies are what help us be more profitable. Because if we're only focusing on what's right here and now in front of me, right, I'm not focused on the bigger things that are going to help me grow. So as you're looking at this, having a clear summer growth goal or project, having a focused plan over the next 12 weeks and checkpoints to keep you going, where do you feel like you are? Are you agreeing? Yep. I've got all those things in place. I know exactly where I'm going this summer, especially in my business. I'm being very strategic because I know it's going to produce a good roadie. Do you have some direction, but it's easy to get stuck in the urgent things, and then it feels like your growth is kind of sporadic? Or are you lost in the weeds of daily stuff without a lot of strategy to grow beyond right where you are and not seeing a whole lot of results? And here is where these three things all fit together so beautifully, and we'll tie this up here, right? When we have CEO schedules, especially in the summertime, we can set those work hours and non-work hours without the guilt, right? And here's what's going to happen is that when you know it's time to work, your time will be more focused on what is in front of you, right? Because you know that there is a timeline on that, right? There's a time that you're going to be done because you have other things that it's time for that are outside of your work space. When you have the CEO systems in place, then you're going to know exactly what to focus on when you sit down to work, right? Because you have something that's helping you say, okay, what are the things I need to consistently be giving my time to? And when you have the CEO strategies, then you're taking steps to grow your results, not just checking boxes. So all of these three things work together in order to help us to like focus our time, take that time that we have and focus it well. Are you starting to see how schedules and systems and strategies can help you be more productive and profitable and present? Right? Like this is again how we want to be wise stewards of the time that God has given us. And I call these the essentials. They're not nice to haves, they're must haves. So right now, I would love for you to kind of look at how you've evaluated yourself, whether you used the scorecard that's here or what you can go ahead and maybe you'll spend some time doing this afterwards. But where do you need to focus this summer? Is it in the schedules area? Is it I need to really like make some decisions around what my day and week looks like and when it's time to work and when it's not and what those things are going what is going to fill that time? Is it around the systems? Like I need to have kind of a repeatable flow for how I'm doing some of these things that need to have my consistent time and attention so that I'm not dropping balls or forgetting things or, trying to remember or remember if I remembered. Or is it around the strategies that I'm ready to get out of the weeds and I really want to look forward to where I want to grow and kind of have that bigger picture? So I'd love for you to drop in the chat as you look at those three things, schedules, systems, or strategies. Where do you feel like you need to focus most this summer? Schedules and systems, okay, systems and strategies. Yeah, and they all kind of play off of each other, right? It's like you can't have one without the other. But it's really helpful to be able to see how these things, go together and build together, right? And what I love is that as believers, we can take our time and our roadie to the next level in a way that those who are chasing after these things will always be chasing after a clock, a calendar, a checklist. And I don't have enough time. I'm not doing enough, right? And I call that the time stewardship multiplier, right? When we are always trying to manage our time, we're actually limiting it. We're trying to keep it contained, under control. We're like that servant in Matthew 25 that went and buried what he'd been given. That was a fear response, right? He wasn't focused on keeping control what he had, right? And he was limiting what his outcome was. But with a time stewardship multiplier, we are investing with an expectation of return, like the other servants, the 2 and the 5, and we're focusing on getting more back from our time so that because we know it doesn't belong to us, right? And we want to hear, well done, good and faithful servant, right? And that stewardship, knowing that our time is not our own and doesn't just belong to us, should motivate productivity and profitability and our presence to not only our time, but also what is filling it. And this is why time is where we have to focus first, right? Because when it comes to really being able to do what it is that God has called us to and see the fruit, it is going to be the result of how we're investing time. So let me stop sharing here. I know we went a little bit over there because we spent a little bit of extra time kind of talking earlier on there. But here is where all of this comes together with, okay, and so how do I do this in summer? Right? Because just having a plan doesn't guarantee we're going to follow it because summer happens. We have later nights, we have last minute invites, we have needed rest, or we're stuck in our office trying to get our boxes checked and we're missing out on the moments. And so here's where we want to have balance in the summer of knowing what it's time for, knowing exactly where to focus my time each, when I am working and when I'm not, and knowing where I'm going so that we don't get to summer, the end of summer and say, "Ah, where did time go? I don't even know what I got done. And now I remember who shared this earlier. I think it was Cecily. Now I feel like I'm further behind. That's what we want to avoid. And so I will be reaching out to each one of you just to see like how I can support you as you're doing this. I have everything available this summer from, you and I sitting down to do this together to, some simple tools that you can just take an hour or two to map out what your week looks like. And so I want to make sure that you have the support that you need around this because the schedules and the systems and the strategies are what are going to make the biggest difference as you are working towards that vision and as you are thinking about where to invest your time this summer. So I would love to hear before we go today, what was helpful for you today? Like as you looked at your summer vision and as you thought about like the decisions you'd have to make around your time, and as you started thinking about the things that you would need to have in place, what was helpful or maybe challenging or maybe insightful as you were looking at how to make that possible with the time that God is going to put in front of you this summer? I would love to hear if anyone's willing to unmute and share what's helpful for you or what are you committed to?
So I started as you were talking, mapping out my weekly rhythm.
Mm,
It was kind of funny because I actually teach people how to do this for their home management, but I haven't done it in my business. So
I love it.
kind
And
of
that just
sitting
like
here
Lisa
as you
was
were talking.
saying,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes we do it for other
Yeah.
people and
Yeah.
we don't always do it for ourselves. Or, we come to a new season, right? And so things look a little different and they shift, whether it's because kids have more flexibility, not being in school hours, or whether it's just because we're wanting to kind of pull back a little bit. And so it is a good time to come back and revisit those things. So yeah, the ideal week would be a great thing for you, Cassie, in helping you to kind of know, like, how do I map this out and have something that's going to help me be wise with my time moving forward.
I would say I was super impacted by that whole Cecily's comment and then your follow-up to that, that it doesn't have to be that way and that the Lord doesn't want us to live that way, that He wants to make us like the good steward who didn't live in fear and actually gets stuff done and does it in a way that is multiplied, um, pushed down, overflowing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's God's heart for us. That's so encouraging to me because instead of feeling like a chicken with her head cut off all the time, because and then the anger that can come out of that,
Mm,
because you're not only are you not getting what you think is most important done, but then you're feeling guilty about everything else. And then you that is compiled on top of kids demanding things from you or whatever it is, or the car needs new brakes today, there's
yeah,
always something. And so it's nice to know that the God of the universe doesn't want us
yeah. We
to
can start getting
let our
resentful of those things that actually are
yes,
gifts, right? Because it feels like it's getting
exactly,
in the way of what it
exactly,
is that we're
exactly.
wanting to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that mindset piece is so important, right? Of number one,
Hmm.
seeing our time as a gift and recognizing like I do have enough time for what I'm called to.
Yeah.
And God is not a barely enough or just enough God. He's always, a more than enough. And so I think this
Hmm.
is one area that it's really easy to like take back ownership of because it feels like this is like all up to us. And while there is this active participation, there also is this his sovereignty over all these things and him being beyond
Hmm.
the time we have and him, yeah, being able to help us to not just maximize our time, but multiply our time.
Yeah.
And bring back even more than we could anticipate. So yeah, it's this beautiful his what I call his divine invitation with our active participation, right? And how
Hmm.
this works together in partnership. And the beautiful thing is it's not all on us.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, we do have a very important role to play in what we're doing with what he's entrusted to us. So yeah, I love it. Great. Well, thanks for sharing. Lisa,
Thanks for
anything for
having me.
you? I know you've been driving, so I don't know how far you are from where you need to be, but anything standing out to you today? She might not be in a place where she can unmute. So all right. So I hope this was helpful and giving you some tools and things like that. Like I said, I will reach out to each one of you just to see how I can support you as you're looking towards not only your vision this summer, but also the goals that you have and how to wisely invest your time. Because I do know that, yeah, it doesn't just happen by chance. We have to have intention around how we're investing time and how we're evaluating our roadie so that we are seeing those results. And I can't wait to see and hear by the end of August, right? What you're seeing and what you're celebrating. And it may not be everything that, that you're seeing now, but like being able to look and say like, wow, like time was a gift this summer and I see the results of how I chose to invest it and how I chose to trust the Lord with it. And that's what's going to make it the best summer in a long time. So, any other questions or things that are on your mind right now before we go?
Did you say that we could get that worksheet that you were going through?
Yes, yes. Let me see if I still have it on my. Oh, I do. Okay. Yes. So there, I just dropped it in the chat. So feel free to click on that, and that way you can go through. There's some. Yes, if those of you who like checkboxes and like, okay, what are the exact things I need to have in place? That way you can go through and say, okay, where are my gaps? And because wherever we have gaps is where time is going to leak out. So we want to make sure that we're really looking at what needs to be in place. So. All right. Well, thank you for being here today. I appreciate each one of you and pray that, yeah, God just gives you all that you need for what He's called you to this summer. And I can't wait to see and hear the fruit of that. So thanks for being here, you guys. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.